John 9:24 through 25. Vocaverunt ergo rursum hominem, qui fuerat caecus, et dixerunt ei, da gloriam Deo, nos scimus quia hic homo peccator est. Dixit ergo ille, si peccator est nescio, unum scio, quia caecus cum esse modo video. Therefore they called again the man who had been blind, and they said to him, Give glory to God. We know that this man is a sinner. He therefore said, If he is a sinner, I don't know. I know one thing, that although I was blind, now I see. These verses present a model little dialogue for us to work through here, and both the vocabulary and the syntax are relatively straightforward, although as always with the Vulgate there's a couple quirks for us to linger on. Vocaverunt ergo rursum hominem qui fuerat caecus. Don't miss the pluperfect here. They called again the man, the person who had been blind, i.e. was no longer, and they said to him, and here as often we've got the dative of the person spoken to or answered, and here's what they say, and this to begin with is a Hebrew idiom, da gloriam Deo. Now most English translations at this point include some kind of explanatory phrase like give glory to God by telling the truth, but of course simply this is just an expression that means that by itself. Give glory to God, tell the truth is implicit, but that's what it means in this sort of context to give glory to God. So tell the truth. We know scimus quia. We know that. Okay, and this is a construction we've seen before. We know that instead of subordination by some other means, like an accusative infinitive, as you might find in a classical text, instead we've got quia as a kind of conjunction, introducing this next level of discourse. We know that this guy is a sinner. That's the first thing they've got to say. And again, I think the implication is confirm that for us with what you say. They want his testimony to confirm that. They want him to say, yeah, he must be, I suppose. Ille dixit ergo. He said, therefore, in reply, si peccator est nescio. The first question we want to ask here, this is the first place we want to linger, why do we not have sit? We've talked previously about how when you are reporting at some level a question or the answer to a question, generally the verb expressing that question goes in the subjunctive. The direct question is, estne peccator? Is he a sinner? And our blind man here is saying, I don't know, and in English we would say whether he is a sinner or not. Usually we would find the subjunctive here almost always in classical prose, quite often in the Vulgate as well, but not here. It seems to be the case that for additional vividness, or for some sort of contextual reason felt or perceived by the translator here, the subjunctive is dropped and the indicative is retained. Another way to look at this is to say, more literally, what he's saying is, if he is a sinner, I don't know it. That is, perhaps this is expressing something even more vivid than a kind of reported question. It's not like a nescio utrum, I don't know whether ... utrum an. Maybe literally what he's saying is, if he is a sinner, that's more than I know. Moving on, he does tell us what he does know. One thing. I know one thing. Then I've added a colon here because clearly that's the sense. And we've got quia, although as very often we don't really need it. I know one thing. Cum, although, this is the concessive sense with the subjunctive that cum can often take, although I was blind, modo, now I can see. Now I do see. Modo is one of those words that can mean a lot of different things based on the context. If you are looking for a way to pass the time this summer, you might look up a dictionary entry in one of the longer scholarly dictionaries for modus, and you will be occupied for a long time. Modus, in its different cases, can mean a lot of different things in Latin contextually. Here, it's a time word. We're contrasting two different times, the past and the present.